when Apple was rolling out this new update to iOS devices, we lost about half of our conversions and our traceability almost overnight. We were in performance marketing business, so for us it meant that all of a sudden we have salaries to pay. Like, we were almost bankrupt and we had to do something.
Today on the Profit and Proof podcast, I'm joined by Anni Salo, co-founder of Tracklution and someone who thinks about data very differently than most marketers. She is focused on one thing: how to give algorithms better signals so they actually work for you. In a world where we are obsessed with data and AI, Anni cuts through the noise to get what really drives performance. This is a conversation about smarter inputs, better outcomes, and how to stop flying blind. Anni, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here.
Let's jump into kind of what I was talking about, where it's data, however you want to say it. But do marketers have a data problem, or is it more of like a quality problem?
I would definitely say it's more of like a quality problem. I think every one of us is hoarding data, collecting a lot of data, but like, what is actually the data quality? I think this is the main problem. Or actually, like, many marketers don't even know what data they are collecting and where the data comes from. So definitely it's more of a quality problem than quantity problem nowadays.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. Is there can be so much data and then you think, oh, I need more and more. But it's like, is it quality? And I love that you said that. Like, where is it coming from? Like, are you just pulling from platforms? Like, let's talk about, instead of more, let's talk about the better inputs, right? Like, especially for you who you are all about algorithm performance. So what's like a better input? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think like every one of us understands how algorithms work. So basically, for the algorithm to actually work in the best possible way for you, you need to give it the fuel that it needs to actually give you the results. So obviously, we can also take the other side of the coin. So if you're feeding your algorithms very bad data or very messy data, or worst case, no data at all, how can you imagine that you would be able to get good results from the algorithms? And especially if we take the marketing platforms nowadays, look at Meta, look at Google, TikTok, Snapchat, and other platforms, like, they are, like, I would say, year after year, reducing all the manual controls that you have as a marketer that you can do inside the platform to actually optimize your campaigns. And instead, it's more and more algorithm driven, almost like black box. You don't know what happens inside, but something clearly happens. Like, you get clicks and you get visitors, but like, for you to actually take the best benefits out from those algorithms, it's not about those little tweaks like that you do by your hands, but it's more about, maybe the only thing that you can do is to improve the data quality and data quantity, obviously, as well, that you're feeding back to the algorithm, so that the algorithm can actually start bringing you the results that you want.
And that is shifting through all of the noise. So the platform reports that you're getting off of Meta and even your Amazon ads and all of that, going through and seeing what is really driving your sales and converting. Is that what you kind of mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think like for marketers, it's a very messy world in a sense that you have access to your Meta ads account, let's say, and you have certain reports there. And then you go to your backend or you go to your analytics platform and you see something totally different there. And then you get like, obviously, totally confused. Like, what are the numbers that I should trust? And typically what we see is either that marketers don't really have this one source of truth, or they just decide, like, I just decide to follow the Meta numbers or the analytics platform numbers, and that's it, without really having like proper visibility and transparency what sits behind those numbers. And this is what I'm a bit worried about, because we are in a data-driven world and you look at the numbers, but if you don't know where the data comes from, where the numbers come from, yeah, you're missing something.
And we're talking, you touched on that, like the source of truth. And most organizations have to go into the CFO's office. And if you don't have your one source of truth and the way that you can prove this, because platforms are over attributing themselves, like Meta will, Amazon will, Google will, because they want you to spend more money on their platform. So exactly, you need that one source of truth that the whole company can get behind. And that's typically, I mean, that's where I have a lot of passion with Lifesight for marketing measurement. I was a longtime Amazon seller. I've built and sold Amazon businesses, and my only source of truth was that Amazon platform reported into my website. I had Shopify, I had Google, I had everything coming in and nothing lined up. And so that's exactly what you're talking about. And now we layer on LLMs, and they're supposed to be recommending our products. We're supposed to be able to show up, and it's messy. It's very messy.
Yeah, I think this is something that's like, because obviously a lot of things is happening with LLMs right now. Not only like how the LLMs are developing, but also how people are adopting and using different AI tools in their everyday life. And at least for a marketer, it's very, very difficult because we don't have, we are used to, when we do the traditional SEO, Google is providing us with the SEO tools and so forth, but we don't have such tools for LLMs. So now it's just about, you can guess. You maybe have some UTM parameters with the traffic. At least some AI tools have started to add those, which you can of course follow and report. But like, how do you rank? How to get to those? I don't know if you even call those rankings, but how do you get your visibility, and how do you develop your visibility in the LLMs? It's like it's also a black box, and it's just like it's changing so rapidly that I don't think we have like single truth on this matter.
And maybe that's part of it, realizing that you can't call it SEO or, AEO or whatever you want to call it, but really it is just showing up where you want to show up for the keywords and the right search terms going into LLMs. I know it's more complicated than that, but we're all learning it together, and I find it very exciting. I think it's a really cool time to be a marketer.
Yeah, it's very exciting, but at the same time, I really feel that this is like going back to the days with like the early days of SEO, and you just need to put in the work, like the hard work, and create the content. And I think there are still so many, these opportunities because we're in such an early days. So somehow I feel that we're going back to those days when SEO was just arising. But the same thing with, especially now, ChatGPT, starting with ChatGPT ads and so forth. So I think there will be also very interesting, say, memories from the past, back in the days when Google Ads started, and now when ChatGPT ads is starting. So it's very exciting times to be a marketer, and a lot of new things ahead of us and things developing, but also those, blast from the past with Google Ads and early days of SEO. Yeah.
Love it. It's like taking me back to my early marketing days when you
exactly.
Like old school marketing of like, let's get the blog post going. Let's get the whole orchestra moving so that it's not just one thing, and it can't just be ads. You can't just buy into everything. Like you have to have the full engine moving. So it's kind of good to hear that the basics that we're all marketers and based on and care about still come into play.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we're going to talk about that shift from search to kind of discovery with getting your brand to show up in LLMs and other agentic content, right? It's moving content, I would say. It's not just static, like pull up a blog post. How is that shift? I would say it from like search to maybe answer-based discovery. Is that a way to put it? It's like you have to be thinking in answers of what people are asking.
Exactly. And I think it's, first of all, everyone who has been doing the traditional SEO or search engine marketing, at least nowadays, I think we marketers are a bit spoiled because we have access to all kind of data, like what kind of queries people are making in Google and so forth. And we used to build our content strategy around that. Of course, you could still use that data to kind of like try to predict what people are then prompting from their LLMs. But I think we are in front of something new, at least for me personally. I think everyone is prompting in their own unique way. So it's actually more and more difficult for marketers to kind of try to predict on which terms or on which prompts you should be ranking in these AI tools. And I think it's also like, if content it has been important for a long time, but I think the amount of content required to answer all those questions and to strengthen your positions in LLMs, it's like something totally else that it used to be. This is at least how I feel and see it. And also based on our own experiences.
Well, but also to your point, you can make content a lot faster and you can be putting out a lot more content, video, blogs, newsletters, just tons of content. I mean, from when I started, I would even say 10 years ago, it took so long for me to make a video and now I can put out, 10 videos a week. It's incredible.
Yeah. Luckily, in a sense, luckily it is that way, because otherwise it would be like very difficult to stay on track with everything. But on the other hand, I think it's also dangerous in a sense, because of course you as a marketer or as a brand, you should also kind of always make sure that the content that you're creating and sharing, that it's meaningful. It's not just, yet another byte out there in the universe, but it's actually useful, because then when people find it useful and maybe the LLMs find it useful, so maybe they want to use it and show it to the users. So it's always like balancing between quantity and quality. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So one cool thing is, like, we're recording a podcast right now and everybody's listening to podcasts, and we can take this podcast. We're recording on Riverside, which is, platform with lots of AI capabilities built in. And we're giving out, I think podcasts still give out the highest quality of information. That's one of my opinions, that webinars, but we can take this and turn it into 10 bite-sized clips that they can, consume. And what I need to be thinking more of in marketers is, these clips are high quality content recorded very well and can show up in LLMs. So that's a turn that I don't know. I'm still learning about, and I'm learning from you as, an industry leader on that. And that's where I'm like, this is so exciting. And it makes me feel like doing podcasts and what I'm doing with quality, high quality content is more purpose driven and more out there to drive purpose content, which makes me happy that that's where we're coming back to. For years, it was like, just push out content, push it out. It's like, for what? Like, for an algorithm or for people to consume?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, even though everything that is going on out there with LLMs and AI tools and so forth, we are still humans. And we are still interested in what others think about this, or how others are feeling or experiencing this, going through the changes and stuff. So I think it's like the human side or the human edge of things that is not going anywhere. And I think podcasts especially, but also videos in general, it's like a very, well, of course, nowadays you can also make them up with AI, but at least we still can recognize the difference, at least mostly. So I think this is a very easy way for someone to also verify that, yes, these are like actual human beings that I'm listening to right now, and their feelings and their experiences. So I think that is not going anywhere. I think we still need humans in processes and in content and creating the content.
I agree. And just having this conversation with you, and we've spoke before and had great conversations. You're so relatable and you're so easy to understand, but yet you deal with some really heavy stuff. It's like the algorithms. So I'm kind of curious, what was the moment, or like what problem did you keep running into where you were thinking this shouldn't be hard, and led you to start Tracklution?
Yeah, actually, this is great that you asked the question. But like, I used to be a performance marketer myself. Of course, I still am, but I would say on the other side of the table. Like, few years ago, we would run into the problem that, for example, Apple did their newest software release, made it so that we were back in the days doing a lot of advertising, especially in Meta, and with heavy performance focus. And all of a sudden, when Apple was rolling out this new update to iOS devices, we lost about half of our conversions and our traceability almost overnight. And we were in performance marketing business, so for us it meant that all of a sudden we didn't get any money flowing in, and we have salaries to pay. Like, we were almost bankrupt, and we had to do something.
Wow. Yes. And I think all of us listening can relate to that. There's a change in the algorithm and you're too heavy on one system. And
yeah, exactly.
And it's same with clients, right? You can be you don't want to be reliant on just one platform, one client. So that's scary. So then what?
Then what? Then our CTO was banging his head against the wall for like 6 months to solve this, because we obviously needed it to be solved. Otherwise, we wouldn't exist like this as a company, at least. So we built what was then the early days of Tracklution, and we used it purely for our own business. So we just wanted to get our own performance marketing back on track again. And actually, we didn't only get it back on track, but we doubled our revenue compared to what it was before the catastrophe happened. So we actually doubled the revenue and the business. And then what happened was that some of the friends, people that we know in the same business, they started asking like, hey, we are really struggling, but you seem to be doing great. So what have you done? And then we told about this like data engine or whatever. Like the product didn't really have a name back then. We just used it for ourselves. So we told about that we actually built this. And then we were thinking like, could we take what we built and give it also to other marketers to use? Because not everyone has like so smart CTO that we had, or doesn't have the IT resources or the knowledge, or just simply time, because we spent like 6 months building the tool. And yeah, then we started kind of rolling it out first, just like secretly, so to say. So the product didn't even have a name, but then our people gave such a good feedback and got so great results. So that was, I think, about what led 3 years ago for us to pivot the entire company. So that's when we became Tracklution and the product got its name. I'm still a performance marketer by heart and also kind of in my daily life, but in a different way, I would say, because we are now supporting thousands of marketers all around the world dealing with their data issues and helping them to get better data and make the algorithms work for them instead of them working really hard for the algorithm. So yeah, but that's the story.
That's very cool. Yeah. And I love you solved your problem and you used your software, and then you didn't just hoard it for yourself. You thought, we will share this with the world.
Yeah, exactly. And we wanted to kind of like, the ideology was behind that every marketer should have access to great data without having to have, an army of developers behind them. Because I think this like good tracking I think it used to be more of like only for big companies, because they have the knowledge, they have the resources to do it. But smaller companies would just miss out. And we kind of wanted to, I don't know, maybe be a bit of the Robin Hood out there. I think the same possibilities for every marketer out there.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, that makes complete sense. And I think as marketers, we used to think that like, oh, that's just for the really big retailers. That's for the big companies. And then all these platforms come along, Shopify, Amazon, everywhere, where anybody can really build a business. But you do need a team and you have to build it and grow big. So you found the way to help small, medium businesses grow bigger and bigger. So very, very cool. Thank you for sharing that story. And let's bring it back to today. So you're working on the algorithms, the LLMs. What are you excited about for what's coming down the pipeline? Like, what are you working on?
Yeah, I would say I'm the most excited about the recent developments of LLMs, especially like past 2-3 months. I was just a few days ago, I was participating in an event and I was in a panel discussion, and the host was asking something like, what do you predict that will happen in 2 years' time? And I was like, my life has completely changed just over the past 3 months. Like the first 3 months of this year, I don't even dare to predict what will happen in 3 months' time. So I have no freaking idea. But this is like, and don't get me wrong, I'm like very, very, I'd say excited in a positive way, because at least for us as a company, like it feels that everything has changed over the past 3 years. Not 3 years, 3 months, I mean. And it's just so exciting to see where things are going. The only thing that is for sure, that LLMs are at their worst today. So they are only getting better tomorrow and the day after and the day after. Honestly, I haven't been this excited about like computers like in almost 20 years. So it's like so exciting.
I agree. And we get to do our work faster and better.
Exactly.
Going back to LLMs, they're just getting smarter and they're not going to be any worse than they are right now. So that means people aren't behind. Like if you don't have, an LLM expert on your team yet, that's okay, right? What tips do you have for any businesses right now that maybe have even been around for a long time that need to get onto LLMs and have their company products show up?
Yeah, I would say like in general, just explore and try out different tools and because I think right now that is the only way to learn because things are developing so much. There is no documentation or courses where you can learn because it's like when someone is creating, I don't know, a course or something on the topic, it's already outdated because things are moving so fast every day. So I would say at least like try to find time for yourself to learn and try things out. And you will learn by doing and you will figure it out. And I think for everyone, like everyone should find the best use cases for their situation. Like what are the major bottlenecks that you have in your daily work or in your digital ads or in your content creation? And is there like smart ways how you can automate things with AI while still leaving the, I would say, most important things to the human brain to handle? And it's a bit funny to say this also because I start to feel, at least personally, that now LLMs are becoming like even smarter than I am and we are as humans. So, but yeah, it's like try it out, be brave, and you will figure it out. But I think that is the only way at the moment.
Very well said. That's great advice. So Annie, if somebody wants to get in touch with you to learn more about Tracklution and connect with you, what's the best way?
Best way is to reach out in LinkedIn, Anni Salo. Maybe the link is put out somewhere. And of course, tracklution.com. There you can learn more about us. You can get in touch with us. You can try our AI tracking assistant, for example, to figure out how is your tracking doing at the moment and could there be something to improve. So, yeah.
Awesome. I'll put those links in the show notes. And before we say goodbye, do you have any last advice, any last words for us?
What would I say? I think I would just like have to repeat myself, but like just go out there and do the job to just learn, like throw yourself out to try new tools and learn and maybe start with the problem that you have in your everyday life or in your everyday work and start by trying to solve that. And either you get the problem solved, which is great, or then you learn something, which is also great. So there is no, options.
There's not. You either win or you learn. I love that.
Exactly.
Well, Annie, it was such a pleasure to host you today. And until next time, stay profitable.
Thank you so much.